For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tanya McMillan. I'm 37 years old, and unfortunately, I was recently diagnosed with breast cancer. Yeah, breast cancer. Talk about life changing. If you, that noise in the background, that's my son. He's 3 years old. His name is Riley. And he's in the bathtub right now, but my sister's in there, so he's not unattended. So you might hear him calling for me. But, anyways, one of my friends gave me this iPad, this lovely iPad, so that I could vlog, something I've never ever done before. So, and I've never uploaded a video to YouTube or anything like that. So I'm definitely not a professional. I'm just an ordinary girl. I'm a hairstylist. I co-own a salon in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, called Happy Hair, and I've been doing hair for 19 years. Single mom of 3-year-old son. A sister to I have a sister and a brother, and I'm a daughter, mother and father. I'm a niece. I have several aunts and uncles. I'm a cousin. So I'm just an ordinary girl, like most of you out there. And I just happen to be 37 years old and now in the fight for my life. Um, I just want to talk a little bit about my diagnosis and how I found out. I actually found my lump myself. And when I say lump, I use that term very lightly because it's not what you would think of when you think of a lump. I know all my life when I've heard people talk about breast cancer and about finding a lump or having a lump in their breast, I really imagined a lump, like a lump. Whether it's a pea-sized lump or a grape-sized lump or a walnut-sized lump, I imagine a lump, like something hard, a lump. But that's actually not what mine feels like at all. And I don't even know why or how I discovered it because I wasn't doing like a self-exam per se. And let me just start by saying this too. Let me back up for a second and say this. I breastfed my son for almost 3 years. So he turned 3 in May, and I probably stopped breastfeeding him in like February. So for 3 years, my almost 3 years, my breasts were going through all kind of changes from milk production, and just the breastfeeding process, and the year and a half, 2.5 years, almost 3 years of doing that. So there's no telling how long this mass has been there. But I guess about a month and a half ago, maybe about 2 months ago now, I found myself feeling my breast. I don't know why, but I promise it wasn't like that. But I was feeling my breast, and something about it just felt weird. It's my left breast, and something about it just felt really odd to me. And when I say odd, it almost feels like, the best way that I can describe it is it feels like deep cellulite. And when I say cellulite, I mean that rough, bumpy texture that you get, with cellulite. So that's what it felt like to me. So I felt the other breast, and it didn't feel like that. So I was like, So that made me kind of feel around a little bit more with that one. And then under that deep cellulite type texture, I felt what felt like a lump. And so that lump was very small. I mean, maybe like, a pea-sized little ball. But for me, that was what alerted me. That's what scared me, was that lump, not the cellulite type texture that I was feeling. I just thought that was, my breast tissue felt different right there. I didn't think too much about that. So I really didn't know what to do or where to go from there. So I called. I'm a hairstylist. So I was talking to one of my clients about it, and she was like, "We need to call your doctor, OB, or whoever, and make an appointment." Because I called the mammogram center, the imaging center at my local woman's hospital, and they're like, "Do you have a referral?" I'm like, "No." So I called my OBGYN, who was not able to see me for a whole month, and I was kind of trying to, I think I was trying to psych myself out, into thinking it was nothing, and or into thinking that it was a fibrocystic breast, or and I do drink, or I did drink a lot of Coca-Colas, and I eat chocolate, whatever I want to eat. Some thinking maybe I've been eating too much chocolate or drinking too many Cokes, and my mom has fibrocystic breast, so maybe that's what it is. But I promise you guys, promise y'all, it's like everywhere I looked, everywhere I turned, the word cancer was just jumping out at me. Billboards that I hadn't noticed before on my route to work, the same route that I drive every day. All of a sudden, I see cancer billboards that I hadn't seen before. Or flipping through the channels on my television, I'm seeing stuff, know your cancer options. Like the word cancer was just jumping out, like bam, 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 everywhere I looked. So I'm a very intuitive person, and I have a great relationship with God. And so, for me, it was just like, okay, God's trying to tell me something. I need to get myself to a doctor and quick. So, again, at work, one of the best things about being a hairdresser is you have clients from all walks of life, and that do all different sort of things for professions. And so I was at work talking to one of my clients, and I'm telling her about it. And she said, well, they do free breast cancer screenings at Women's Hospital through our local cancer center here, which is called Mary Bird Perkins. This is in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So, and she sent me the information on the free cancer screening. So I called over there and made myself an appointment, went to the screening, saw the nurse practitioner who did an exam, a physical exam, and she felt the same lump that I felt. And so she said I needed to come back for a diagnostic mammogram. So I went back, that was on a Tuesday. So I went back that Thursday for the diagnostic mammogram, and they took 2 sets of pictures, mammogram pictures, and an ultrasound. And by the end of it, they were calling in a radiologist who couldn't say for certain that it was nothing. And so he recommended that I come back for a biopsy. And, even with that, like when I think back on both of those visits, the initial exam with the nurse practitioner and the mammogram, when I think back on both of those visits, it was something kind of creepy. I don't want to say creepy. That's just like, for lack of a better word, creepy or morbid, or maybe it was just that intuition thing and that relationship that I have with God that kind of was preparing me for what was to come. Because when I went for the mammogram, there was probably 15 women there. I was definitely the youngest one there. And I went to the nurse practitioner as well as all of the other women, and they went and they did the physical exam. They went on to their screening mammogram, which they were doing that day for regular screenings. I went to the nurse practitioner. She felt what I felt, and I had to bypass the screening mammogram and come back for the diagnostic mammogram. So it was like my route was different. My route was different than the other 14 women there. So when I had to go back for the diagnostic mammogram, I'm sitting in the room, and it's like the room is, all of us have on these blue jackets waiting to get our mammograms, and room full of women, and some of them are sitting in there, they got their cell phones up and they're playing games on their cell phones or reading magazines. And I'm sitting there thinking, how are they so calm? How are they so calm? Like, I'm about to turn this hospital out. If they don't get to me and get to me quick, I'm about to flip out in here. How are they so calm? So I picked the little magazine up that they had on the table next to me, and I'm trying my best to stay calm by reading the magazine. I'm picking it up and put it down. Pick it up, put it down, because I just couldn't focus. All I could focus on was what was going on with me. So again, they called me back for the pictures, the first set of pictures. Go back out in the waiting room. Several of the women that were there when I first got there were now gone. They called me back for the second set of pictures. I go do that, go back to the waiting room. More of the women that were there are gone. And they call me back for the ultrasound. And they call the radiologist in. And this time, when I walked back into the waiting room, I was the only woman there. So again, my route was different. So I go back for the biopsy the next week on a Friday. So the first exam was a Tuesday. The diagnostic mammogram was that following Thursday, 2 days later, and the biopsy was the next week on a Friday. Did that. They biopsied 3 areas, 2 areas on my breast and 1 swollen lymph node. 1 lymph node looked funny from the mammograms and the ultrasound. So they biopsied that lymph node too. 6 days later, I got a call that all 3 areas came back positive for cancer. And the crazy part about it is 2 of the areas, the 2 breast areas, came back with what they call ductal carcinoma in situ, which is like stage 0 cancer. Some doctors describe that as, or classify that as stage 0 cancer, because that means the cancer has not invaded the actual breast tissue. But because the lymph node came back positive for cancer too, they know that there has to be some invasive cells there. So because of that, I was staged at stage 2 breast cancer. And then from there, believe it or not, I had to wait 6 days before I saw a doctor. 6 whole days with all these questions running through my head, and Google tearing my mind up. Don't Google if you can help it. But again, everybody has different personalities too. So my personality is the type that I Google because I want to know, because I feel like I'm so uninformed, and then it freaks me out. So then I have anxiety, and it has made the 6-day wait before I saw the doctor feel like 6 months. So I saw the and I honestly didn't want to wait 6 days. I did not want to wait 6 days. So when I got the diagnosis, I went up to the hospital, and the hospital called me back and said, we're going to set you up with the breast specialist. And I begged them. I said, but I'm here now. Can I please see someone today? And no, you can't see anyone today. I said, what about tomorrow? No, not tomorrow. What about Monday? No, not Monday. So I had to wait until the following Wednesday, which was 6 days later. But again, God is so good, because in those 6 days, in a 2-day period, that Monday and that Tuesday, but in 2 days, I got referred to 1 other doctor by 5 different people. So, by the time that 5th referral came in, I was at work, and I'll never forget, it was 2:44. My phone rang, and it was my neighbor from across the street. And she says, Tanya, I was at Women's Hospital today, and with her father and her mother both have some sort of cancer. So she was there with her mother. And I was talking to someone, and they said, you need to go see Dr. Haley. Dr. Haley is his name. And I was like, wow, like this is the 5th person that's referred me to this man in a matter of 2 days. So I stepped aside from my client, went to my office and called his office and told them the situation, that I was recently diagnosed and I hadn't seen a doctor yet. And they said, well, he can see you next week on Monday. And I said, I can't wait, because I've already waited at that point. It's going to be 6 days before I saw the first doctor. I said, I can't wait another week on a second opinion with something like this growing inside of me. Like, I need to know what's going on and get the treatment process started ASAP. So the nurse, or the scheduler, put me on hold, and she came back and she said, he's going to see you at 6 a.m. Thursday morning. Okay? How good is that? How good is God? 6 a.m. Thursday morning. So, and again, this was 2:44 or almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday. So I went and saw the first doctor. That did not work out at all. She was like almost 2 hours late for the appointment. She was rushing. She came in, talked to me for like 20 minutes, told me I was going to have a year and a half of treatment. I needed a mastectomy, and that was pretty much it. I left there thinking I was dying. Now, I didn't know what stage I was in. I was scared to even look at my paperwork. I didn't know. I mean, a year and a half of treatment. I need a mastectomy. Why? Like I didn't know anything. So I was devastated. I left there really just devastated. So the next day when I saw Dr. Haley, it was totally different. Totally different. From the moment I walked into his office, there was no one else there. There was no receptionist there. There was no nurse assistant there. There was no nurses there. And I walked in and I'm like, okay, is anybody here? And then all of a sudden this little man just appears down the hallway and he's holding my file in his hand. It's the doctor himself. Now, I've been going to the doctor for 37 years and I've never had the doctor themselves come get me out of the waiting room. So I knew that something was going to be different about this doctor. And so when we got back to his room, and I say we because there was my, I mean, I have to say this too. I have the best support system that a girl could ever ask for. My sister has been with me since the day I was diagnosed, has not left me. She left this weekend to go home from Friday to Sunday, and I cried like a baby because I'm so used to her being here now. But my sister, oh my God, I just love her so much. My brother, and I'll tell y'all about that story. I'm gonna have to do another video just on God having his hands in this whole situation, throughout the whole situation. I'd have to tell you guys about just all the confirmation that I've gotten over and over again about just how good God is and what he's doing and how his hands are in this and how he's kept me throughout, because that could be a whole video in itself. So I'm gonna do that. My mother, of course, I have 2 girlfriends that have accompanied me. One of them has been to every appointment that I've been to since diagnosis. One or the other has been to every appointment. It's just unbelievable, it's just unbelievable. But so get back to Dr. Haley's office and to the actual room itself. He's got my mammogram pictures up on the screen. He's got my chest x-ray that I had the day before up on the screen. So he was there before 6 o'clock studying my situation. Little old me. Can you believe that? And he's pulling in chairs so that everybody can sit down. He's like, gather around. He pulls out pen and paper. He starts drawing pictures of cancer cells. This is what you got. This is what it's doing. This is why we got to do this. We're going to do this. This is why. 45-minute consultation. That day, within 24 hours, I had seen, with less than 20, within 12, well, let's see, I was there at 6. By 4 o'clock that day, I'd had an MRI, breast MRI. I had lab work done, blood work done, genetic testing, which came back negative. I didn't test positive for any cancers or any other cancers as far as the genetic testing went. So that was wonderful. I'd met with the plastic surgeon. I'd had the oncologist called me and set up the appointment for the next day. I was scheduled for my pre-op consultation to get my port installed and for my port surgery for the following Thursday. So all that happened in one day. So this doctor was amazing. Like, he didn't waste any time. He got right on it, got the ball rolling, which is exactly what I need, because I don't want to feel like somebody is playing with my life, or like I'm just another number, just another chart, just another woman, just another set of breasts, just another cancer patient. I want to feel like a priority, because my life is a priority to me. So he made me feel that way, and he got the ball rolling right away. So I love that man. Bless that man. But it was a whirlwind of appointments. That's one thing that I was not prepared for, that no one ever told me, because who talks about your appointments prior to treatment? Or if you don't know anyone that's going through it, you don't know to ask those questions, and it's just not something that people walk around talking about, which is why I really want to make this video and all the other videos that I'm going to make, because I want people to understand the backstory. You see people going through chemo, but you don't know what they had to go through before they got there. So from Thursday to Tuesday, I had seen an oncologist, a plastic surgeon, had a consultation with a radiologist, went through chemo class, was scheduled for my PET scan, which happened that following Thursday. Again, I had my MRI on my breast. I had heart scan. I had genetic testing. I had lab work done. I gave so much blood. My poor little arm, my poor little hand was like bruised from the IVs in the blood. It was, I mean, it's just a lot. It was a lot of appointments, a lot of appointments. So the day of my PET scan was also the day that I had my pre-op visit to get the port installed. So that was the Tuesday following my initial visit with Dr. Haley. So, and I met with the radiologist that day too. So the radiologist is doing an exam, physical exam on my breast, and he couldn't even feel the cancer. And so he couldn't find it. And so I was thinking, thank you, Jesus, like maybe I was healed or something. Like, you really do think like that, because you just want it to be gone. So I was thinking, like, maybe the Lord did some kind of miracle, or, you know, divine intervention, and just took this stuff away because he can't even feel it. So I get out the appointment with him, and I'm feeling so good and so confident. Go get my PET scan. Immediately have to get up from the PET scan table, go to another hospital to see Dr. Haley for my pre-op consultation, and he tells me that I have to come back. I'm getting my port installed that Thursday, but I got to come back that Friday because the MRI is showing calcification in my right breast that did not show up on the initial mammograms and ultrasounds. Really, really. It's like so many emotional ups and downs, like this emotional roller coaster. Because I mean, I literally had just left a visit with a radiologist who couldn't find the cancer, and I'm getting a PET scan of my whole body now to see if there's cancer anywhere else. And then I go to my doctor, who tells me they got calcification in the right breast that didn't show up on the initial mammogram. So I'm like, oh my goodness, like what in the world? What if this cancer is everywhere? But thank God, by the grace of God, it wasn't. Got the biopsy on the right breast that Friday, and started chemo that following Monday. The port surgery, here's my port. My port is right here. This is like, they put like little steri strips above this. This didn't hurt one bit. The port surgery didn't hurt at all. And I mean, I was a little sore afterwards. Like I couldn't sleep on my back or anything like that. Couldn't really roll over. And then I got the biopsy that Friday. So if any of you guys have been through a breast biopsy, you know that hurts too. It hurts afterwards. You can't really sleep on that side. So I was sleeping on my back. And then I started chemo that Monday. With my first chemo treatment was 7 hours. 7 hours. So I have 3 cancer drugs, 1 hormone, Herceptin, and then where they put Benadryl and something for my nerves in there too. So it was 7 hours. It was 7 hours of sitting in a chair. But it was fine. The time went by fast. I had a lot of people show up to my chemo. I think I had 7 or 8 people at chemo. So again, my support system is amazing. Amazing. And there were people in there. Some people didn't have anybody. So, you know, I felt my heart broke for them. I just couldn't imagine going through something like this and having no one there. So, yeah, so I got through chemo fine. And I think I'm going to make a separate video about chemo because this one here is getting pretty long. But I just wanted to basically introduce myself. Again, I'm Tanya McMillan, 37 years old, newly diagnosed, stage 2 breast cancer. And subscribe and follow my vlog to keep up. And my perspective is going to be a little different than some others, just because, again, I'm single, so I don't have a husband here with me helping me or anything. I do have my sister, though, my lovely sister Tamika, who I love so much, and my brother, who is coming and staying for the week of my chemo treatments. And I have a 3-year-old son, and I have a 16-year-old niece who also lives with me, goes to school out here. She's the mascot for her high school, so we have football games on Friday. So that's another, so I'm so proud of her. That's another challenge for me, just to be able to go to the games. And I did make the last 2 games, but I'm going to make a separate video about my first chemo and the side effects, just because this one is getting really, really long, okay? So talk to you guys later, and I hope that everyone is watching this has learned something today, just about the pre-cancer, the pre-treatment process, and the screening process. And if anyone else is going through this, if we can just kind of encourage each other and keep each other lifted in prayer, that would be wonderful. I'm definitely praying for all my fellow breast cancer warriors out there. And just God bless you all. God bless your survivors. Okay.